So I'd like to lead him through a question or two, as long as you want to tolerate it. Now, the first question I have is why he puts art higher than religion and science.
Yes, I have to declare this. I work in the field of art, yes, and you know how less people during the period of Marxistic ideologies are inclined to believe in the powers of the culture in whole. That they are believers in the revolution in the field of economics. That they are believers, for instance, for special points in the Marxistic ideology, for instance, in the class struggle theory and all these things. And that they are believers, I say deliberately believers, because believers means another thing than to look very clear and without believing, only with thinking for the phenomena of the reality. And therefore, I mean it is time to show that art means a part of the creativity, and that now is a time that we define the art in a larger way. I mentioned it already on the beginning, but I said we can come once more in a multiplied way during the discussion to these points. That I mean, when I say art, a very enlarged idea of art, which can include science and religion too. I mean, this idea of art means the whole creativity. I mentioned it already in the beginning, but I know how difficult it is to understand too much ideas. Yes, mentioned one after another. Yes, ideology, archetypus, and all these things. Therefore, my meaning is expressed in special theses, and I will give the proofs that these theses are real theses, and they are in a well thought way related to the social organism, to the social organization too. Therefore, at first it is clear I mean with art a bigger idea of art. And here I showed art divided in the disciplines of art well known as outcoming from history, well-known disciplines like architecture, sculpture, painting, music, poetry, and so on. And that I showed there at the end where the railing line is, that we have now perhaps the duty to research for a new kind of art where every human being, every living human being, in an equal way could participate in art. I mean now art in a more larger way, that art includes the ability to destinate the things in the world. And now we are on the point that I mean not only art, science, and religion, that I mean too the institutions where art, science, and religion become exercised. I mean the whole education structure. I mean the schools and the universities. But I mean more as schools. I mean too the information level. TV, radio, newspapers. And I said all these things in the field of freedom. And I mean now a political term added to this, that because human beings have in the next future in equal way to participate in the field of creativity, and this kind of art, I mentioned it as social sculpture, the structure in the whole politics have to become changed. Therefore, it is necessary that no more culture is ruled from politicians and from the interest of economics who work in feedback for the whole politic, and the politicians make the decisions for the whole culture. Yes, this is at first another cycle of thinking about my idea of art. But now I expect the other questions.
Well, do you think that art and socialism are necessarily connected now in the next stage?
Yes, I mean that art or the results from this kind of art, I mean in my idea of art, yes, as a doing in a social way, can only have his results in economics. Because then you have to understand the whole political structure in another way. I showed at first the idea that you have to look for the social structure in a different way. That you have not only to say that is the society, that you have to analyze what different activities are acting in the society, that you make divisions between culture and a basic law problem, yes, a political problem, and that you make a difference between activities in factories, for instance, a difference between that you have now to make difference, a differentiation between production, circulation of goods, and consumption. And that you work in all these ideas and set them together in a special structure, and then think about these phenomena. You have only to look for the phenomena, and you have only to think in a way without prejudice to see very mostly and in the beginning simple, monumental errors in the nowadays practiced politics. This is the beginning from the process.
Is your own art socialistic? In what sense is your own art tied to socialism?
Yes, but what is socialistic art? That is not what I mean.
Oh, then why is art connected with socialism then? I don't understand.
We have to say it once more. I mean the idea of art as a whole creativity.
You mean the artist can exist only in a socialist society?
No. No, I mean art has to be, the idea of art has to be changed to a greater idea of art. And I mean this greater idea of art, that you have to look for the spring point where the creator principle begins. Yes? Art is a special kind of creativity, you know? If you look for another kind of creativity, you may think about philosophy, for instance. If you look for another field of creativity, you look for electricity, researching in electricity. But it is a very simple thing to see that all these activities are, that therefore is necessity to have a power, a special power in destinating things in the world. You have to destinate, yes. You cannot let all these things in a special chaos. If you see a painter has to form his material, yes. And in another way, an electrician or a physicist or a medico has to form the problems he finds in the world, yes. Therefore, if you analyze this process basically, you have to go back and you have to train a special kind of consciousness science to find the point from where the whole ability, creativity, springs. And then you are at a point where you see human being is not only located in the physical world, that human being is only to understand as on the one side incarnated in a physically context on the life between birth and death, but that his thinking springs from another point, that his thinking is not to understand outcoming as a result from complicated material processes, that you can find the personality outside the conditions which are standing in the environment physically.